Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this occasion, we will going to learn about one of the protozoan disease, which is Giardiasis. So, what is Giardiasis? Giardiasis is a gastrointestinal disease that characterized by acute or chronic diarrhea. It caused by the protozoan parasite in the genus Giardia. The cause is parasite Giardia intestinalis, or also known as Giardia lamblia and Giardia duodenalis. Giardia duodenalis is known as the major species that found in mammals and the only species known to cause illness in humans. Many infections of Giardiasis are asymptomatic, but when the symptoms occur, they are mainly intestinal, and it's characterized by chronic diarrhea, which is watery, loose, and greasy stools, and it's followed by abdominal cramps, bloating, fatigue, and weight loss. And this is Giardiasis morphology. So in the picture we can see that Giardia species have two stages. The first is tropozoites, and then the second is the cyst. So the tropozoite, we can look in the picture. It consists of rhizoplast, nucleus, nucleolus, axostyle, basal granular, basal granule, parabasal body, flagell, and posterior flagell. So tropozoites is active feeding stage of the parasites, and it's responsible for the colonization in intestine. This shape itself, it looks like pear or tennis racket. And then the cyst, the second stage it is an infective stage of parasite, which is a fully mature cyst that shaped like oval or ellipsoidal, and it's surrounded by a thick cyst wall, and the cytoplasm is granulated and separated from the cyst wall by the clear space. It contains 4 nuclei, and the remaining flagell and margin sucking disc may be seen inside the cytoplasm. And this is the life cycle of the Giardia. So the cysts are resistant forms and responsible for the transmissions of Giardiasis. Both the cysts and tropozoites can be found in the feces. We can look in the first stage, or the first number. The cysts are hardy, and it can survive several months in the cold water, and the infections usually occurs by the ingestion of the water, food, or it can be also the fecal oral route. And then the number 2, we can look in the picture. In the small intestine, excitation release tropozoites, and each cyst produces 2 tropozoites. And the number 3, we can look in the picture below. The tropozoites will multiply by longitudinal binary fission and remaining in the lumen of the proximal small bowel, where they can be free or attached to the mucus by a ventral sucking disc. And then the number 4, encystation occurs as the parasite transit towards the colon, and then the cyst is the stage found most commonly in no diarrheal phases. And the last, Because the cysts are infectious when they pass in a stool, shortly afterward, person-to-person transmission is possible. While in animals that are infected with Giardia, their importance as reservoir still unclear. And this is the epidemiology of Giardiasis. Giardiasis duodenalis occurs worldwide, and it's particularly common in warm climates areas, and anyone can get Giardiasis, but more prevalent in children. Giardiasis is also the most common enteric protozoal infections in the world, and it's affecting nearly 2% of adults and 8% of children in the developed countries. And also it estimates that almost 33% of the population in developing countries have been infected with Giardiasis. The prevalence within the US, it is estimated to be roughly 1.2 million, with the majority of cases is not identified because the cases are asymptomatic. While in Indonesia, the prevalence of Giardiasis is generally high, it ranging from 2 until 25%. And we will continue to the clinical signs. The first we will discuss about the clinical signs in the animals. So in some experimentally infected animals, the clinical sign reported to occur around the time when the cyst excretions begins, and the prepatent period is usually 5 to 16 days in the dogs and cats, and in the ruminants, studies in the ruminants animal, it was reported to be 6 to 21 days. But it's also because the different methods of the detections. The recent research suggests that the prepatent period is 3 to 10 days. And most of the infections in the animals are asymptomatic, but particularly the infections occur in adult animals. Acute, chronic, or intermittent diarrhea or soft stool may be seen in some of dogs and cats. The stools are typically light colored and mucoid. They are often malodorous and may contain undigested fat, but the existence of blood is rare. Vomiting also occurs as the symptoms, but fever is not usually present. Infected animals they will have unthrifty appearance, and occasionally they will lose weight or fail to gain their weight. And how about clinical signs in human? So in some cases, people that infected with Giardia, they have no symptoms or asymptomatics. The spectrum varies from asymptomatic carriage to severe diarrhea and malabsorption. In acute giardiasis, it develops after the incubation period, which is 1 until 14 days, or the average of 7 days, and usually it lasts for 1 until 3 weeks. And in chronic giardiasis, the symptoms are recurrent, and malabsorption and debilitations may occur. We can see here that symptoms include diarrhea, abdominal pain, bloating, nausea, and vomiting. And now we will look for the laboratory diagnosis of Giardiasis intestinalis. The first is wet mount. So to prepare the wet mount examinations, we need to obtain a microscope slide and also the stool specimen. So we can look in the picture, wet mount, the diagnosis with wet mount, we will get the bright field microscopy. The cyst will appear and ovoid to ellipsoid in shape, and the immature and mature cysts have 2 and 4 nuclei respectively. Intracytoplasmic fibrils also visible in the cyst. And then the second diagnosis is trichrome stain. Tropozoids, we will get the tropozoids appearance. So the tropozoids appear as the pear-shaped organism, and it contains 2 anteriorly placed nuclei and 8 flagella. And the cysts appear ovoid to ellipsoid in the shape. Nuclei and intracytoplasmic fibrils are also visible in this examination. And then the next is direct fluorescence antibody, or DFA assay. So basically this technique offers the highest combination of the sensitivity and specificity, and it is considered as the gold standard by the laboratories, and it's recommended that a concentrated stool specimen will be used to increase the probability of the detections. And then the special equipment in these examinations are fluorescence microscope, and also the commercially available test kits that required, and it doesn't provide a permanently stained slide that can be archived. And then the next examination is enzyme immunoassay. The enzyme immunoassay does not rely on microscopy and is useful for screening in a large number of specimens. Borderline positives and questionable negatives obtained with this technique should be further confirmed by DFA. Antigens of Giardia are detected in the feces using this method. Therefore, specimens should not be concentrated prior to the testing. However, specimen equipment or microplate reader and commercially available test kits are required in these examinations. And then the last lab diagnosis for Giardiasis is rapid immunochromatographic cartridge assays. So this examination used with preserved specimen and are quick and easy to perform. The antigens of Giardia detected in the feces using this method. The specimen should not be concentrated prior to the testing, and the borderline positive and questionable negatives obtained with this technique should be further confirmed by the DFA, and no special equipment is needed in this examination. So we can conclude that the combinations of examination is useful to be more specific, to be more accurate in the diagnosis of Giardiasis. And this is the prevention and control. The first